Okay, so can you all see my screen so far?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. Welcome to the AmeriCorps VISTA program orientation, presentation. Similar to Community Corps, we were not able to cover everything, but we tried to cover the highlights and the updates and what's important for us to discuss for the upcoming year. Well, since it is technically the last program of CPN this morning, I hope I will have some more time for Q&A from all of you, but we'll try to respect time as much as possible. So my name, as you all know, Nadia Mago. I'm the program manager with the Community Partnership team. The outline today will cover what is VISTA, the current or the upcoming VISTA placements that we have so far, the VISTA recruitment process, how to train your VISTA or what topics to train them on, the VISTA management overall and what you need to know for your new VISTA members, and any updates for the upcoming year for VISTA, and finally share some resources that might be helpful for all site supervisors. So what is VISTA? It is, as you all know, Volunteer in Service to America. It is a national service program dedicated to ending poverty by building capacity for nonprofit organizations and public agencies. CNCS is the Corporation for National and Community Service. It is a U.S. federal government agency that engages more than 5 million Americans in service every year. Learn and Serve America, Senior Corps, and other initiatives. This is basically a hierarchy of the structure of the reporting for CNCS. So CNCS has different branches. The VISTA program mainly is branched off of the AmeriCorps program. We had initially breaking down the whole structure into state offices, but now recently has shifted to regional office. So currently the SWARE Center is reporting to the Northeastern Regional Office in New Hampshire. So it can work in two main ways. So the state office or the regional office can either work directly with a nonprofit organization in any of these states, and they would work together in the reporting, the grant submission, the financial grant, etc., and in the hiring process. Or they can work in what they call an intermediary site, in which case the SWARE Center is one. This intermediary site will work to support multiple organizations. They will take care of the major parts of the reporting, the grants, and the collection of the information and the recruitment parts, etc. And they can work with these organizations to provide them with either one VISTA member or multiple VISTA members as they see fit. So for the current year, we have mainly 8 external organizations that we will be working with this year. So Beat the Streets has been with us since 2017. I think this is its 4th year going into the VISTA program. Providence After School Alliance is also in its 4th year. Social Enterprise Greenhouse is on its 2nd year on the VISTA program, and currently will be having 3 VISTA members at their site doing different programs. Breakthrough is also on its 2nd year under the VISTA program. Inspiring Minds similarly, and Inspiring Minds will also be having 2 VISTA members this year with us. They have recently hired a 2nd VISTA for their site. In addition to that, we have few new sites, House of Hope, CDC, Youth in Action, and finally, the Providence Public Library. We also have 2 internal site placements. One is with the community partnership team, and it is currently Alex and Alexis. And the second placement is with the communications and community outreach VISTA at our communications team, and the new VISTA, we have a current VISTA now and then their service soon, and we will have a new VISTA joining in August 31st. And finally, I want to introduce our AmeriCorps VISTA leader, Carissa Grosha, who will be who has joined us recently in June and will be an added support for both VISTA members in terms of training and supervision, and also an added support for all the VISTA site in terms of recruitment and the program support overall. So Carissa, would you like to share a few words about you?
Yes, I was just going to put my contact information in the chat as well. I know that I've met some of you already, or we've talked via email, and I'm happy to see some of our new VISTA members on the call also. And just moving forward, that I'll be a point of contact to kind of answer any VISTA questions, and if I can't answer them, then we can include Nadia as well, and just make sure everyone's kind of on the same page going forward, or to figure it out together, basically.
Thank you, Carissa. So yes, so I'm sure many of you who are either VISTA members or VISTA supervisors have already seen Carissa and or received emails from her, or seen her copy done in some emails, and she will be moving forward more involved in the member support and member recruitment. Moving forward to who are our VISTAs. So at the SWARE Center, we have 3 main qualifications for our VISTA members. So they need to be at least 18 years old, and they need to be either a US citizen or permanent resident. And the third qualification is for them to have a minimum of a bachelor's degree to qualify for the VISTA program at SWARE. Benefits include a living allowance, includes an education award or a stipend. It includes professional development at various stages of their service term, and healthcare benefits, and finally a Brown ID that gives them RIPTA access, library access, and a few other benefits at Brown and around the Greater Rhode Island area. And in terms of responsibilities, the VISTA member will be expected to engage in capacity building activities, create sustainable projects and sustainable systems for their site, and successfully perform the activities outlined in the VAD. I'm sharing here a quick slide explaining how the AmeriCorps identifies capacity building versus direct service. And capacity building, as identified there, is taxes and activities to expand the scale and reach, efficiency, and effectiveness of the program organization, as opposed to acting or providing service directly to a certain participant, client of the program under the organization. I'm sharing this with awareness that given the recent development, the AmeriCorps VISTA and the AmeriCorps program overall has shared that there are some direct service activities that are permissible now under the VISTA program. And I'm sharing that later on during our slides, but if you or your site has any direct service activities that you believe your VISTA member will need to be part of, please let me know, email me, or add that onto the VAD, and we can present that to the VISTA regional office to get their approval. For the most part, they have been approved in some form of direct service in the meantime, but we will need to run that by them as well. Moving forward to the VISTA recruitment. So the first step of the VISTA recruitment is for us, the SWARE Center, to send an RFP. Typically that's sent around November and December. We would ask you to submit a VAD, or if you already have a VISTA member or you're already enrolled in the program, you will be sending us an updated VAD for the upcoming year. The VAD typically looks like this. It's asking for the goal of the project and breaking it down to smaller activities and having the time or the period of the start date of these activities. The VISTA regional office usually looks for clear activities, nothing that has to do with advocacy or any of the direct service activities. I'm happy to go in more detail about what the expectations of the VAD, and I can do that in a separate meeting to cover this, but that's one of the requirements from the VISTA, from any organization interested in the VISTA program. Following that is selecting performance measures. Once we have identified the goal of the project that this member will be performing, we will also identify what the outputs or what is the goal for this member, or the measures that these members will be performing by the end of their service term, and the outcomes, and how do we know that these members have performed the expected activities. So that's done through a form that we usually share right here. I don't know if you can see this spreadsheet, but I'm happy to share it on our presentation later on. And once you have selected the performance measures, then you can proceed with the recruitment. So as the SWARE Center, we will be sharing the opportunity listing on the AmeriCorps portal. We would also ask that you share the listing on your platforms as or websites as site organizations. Once we receive the VAD and it's approved by the CNCS, we can start the interviewing process. The SWARE Center, typically me and Carissa in this case, will be conducting screening interviews with applicants. Once the candidates pass the screening interviews, then we would introduce them to the site placements that they are interested in. We would give usually a period of a week or two to conduct interviews. Once the interviews are conducted, then the site placement would submit a form selecting or notifying us of the hired candidate. Once we receive that information, we also do a matching process to make sure that both the members, the candidates and the site placements have received their primary choice. Following that, once we receive that information and we identify a candidate, we fill out a sponsor recommendation form for the VISTA regional office. We also send a formal offer for the candidate. Once the candidate accepts, then we will proceed with the pre-service assignments. That's typically done by the VISTA regional office. They also verify the BCIs and they verify that there's no issues with the application. Once all that goes well, then the member is finally successfully onboarded through an on-site orientation and training on a specific date that is typically shared during the offer letter. I'm going to pause right here and see if anybody has any questions at this point.
Yeah, how many hours a week do they typically work for the partner?
Oh, that's a great question. So the VISTA program is a full-time, full commitment from the VISTA members. So they would work with your site as any full staff member would.
And it's a 12-month term.
Exactly. Yep.
Hi, this is Tori from House of Hope. So for the 12-month term, do we just end like whenever they started in August?
Exactly. So if the member started in August 3rd, the expectation is that the member will continue until August 3rd of the following year.
Okay, thank you. And our organization typically says full-time is 40 hours. Are there ever cases where like the VISTA says, but that's not reasonable for me? Like, can I do 35 or something like that?
Usually that's shared during the offer letter as well. Whatever the organization considers as full-time is what the member is expected to
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to add in quickly that there is the option for a VISTA to do a second term.
Exactly.
Within VISTA or within your own site. So that would be something that kind of within the last 3 months, or, you know, obviously then if an organization were hiring not through VISTA, the VISTA could then end their service and take a different position, if that makes sense.
Yep. Thank you, Carissa. I would also note that I think the cap is 5 years for them re-enrolling. So they can re-enroll as many years as they believe they can continue, and they can re-enroll either within the same site or under a different site under the SWEAR Center available site placements.
Okay. And is there any type of cost at all to the partner organization?
Yes, there is a cost share that we usually share from year to year during our RFP. So we would send the upcoming RFP around November or December. So we will share the most updated cost share for that year. Any other questions? Okay, so moving on to the VISTA training. So once we have selected the VISTA and they're successfully onboarded, then there are 3 main resources of training that the VISTA member will be receiving. So the first one will be training through CNCS or AmeriCorps overall. So the first one will be during the orientation or even the pre-orientation trainings that they will typically receive through webinars and online trainings. There's also conferences. In the past, they used to be in-person conferences where they would meet other VISTA members in the whole country at a certain state. And that's typically something that the CNCS coordinates, the flight, etc. Under this new world order, I believe the conferences might turn to virtual, at least for the foreseeable future. In addition to that, there's also an Rhode Island network meetings and activities that happen in a form of VISTA meetups where members can just meet with other VISTAs in the States and have just low-key, like everyday activities or check-in or ask one another for online resources that they might access. And finally, Justice Talks, which is something that has started in Rhode Island most during the month of February through March, where every Friday VISTAs and AmeriCorps members across Rhode Island would meet and talk about recent topics and other activities to grow their awareness of the Rhode Island social justice world. Following that, the other resource or training they receive is through the the SWARE Center and Brown University resource, and that happens through regular professional development resources, on-site and orientation that they receive through Carissa, our VISTA leader. There's the career lab where if they have any questions about resume building, how to network, etc., they can reach out to them. On campus opportunities, online opportunities, and other trainings happening through Brown. Again, Carissa will be making sure to share any upcoming activities with the VISTA members, and they can identify any of the opportunities that would meet their expectation or meet their needs. And the final resource is through the VISTA site placement itself. So most of their work will be with the VISTA site placement. So the orientation and training will be received via their site supervisor. Their site supervisor can also share any training, any training or other resources for the member directly with them through their check-ins and communication regularly. These are examples that I'm sharing for topics of either training on onboarding that the site placement may be offering to their members. So they can either talk to them about the history of their organization, mission and vision, the boards. They can also talk about the team structure, etc. They can also talk about the reporting structure, the data collection, any tools that their organization typically uses, boundaries, safety protocols, etc. I'm happy to share the slides with you for this presentation, and you can maybe take ideas from these resources here and share them with your VISTA members. I think since we don't have a whole lot of time, instead of sharing or having a breakout session, I may just have a minute or two to ask everyone if they have any critical 2 to 3 critical things that you train your VISTA members on, or you would like to train your VISTA members on in the upcoming year that would be beneficial for them during their service term. So I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. So I know that some of you, not everyone here is a VISTA supervisor. So this question is mainly for current or upcoming VISTA supervisors. What type of orientation or what type of training topics they have done with their VISTA members so far, and if there are any new ones that they would like to have this year.
Hi, this is Tori from House of Hope. I'll share that during our first VISTA orientation last week, I shared a lot about who is a part of the organization and had the VISTA shadow in different staff meetings. And our summer student from Brown doing iProv made an orientation website that they've been able to go through that shared about staffing structure, all the types of services we provide, background information on our clientele, and we're hoping to keep refining the orientation process. And I'm happy to hear what folks who've done VISTA before have done in their orientation. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tori. And that's another, as Tori shared, once the VISTA members also receive that information, if one part of their VED is also to orient other volunteers and about all this, that's something that would definitely add capacity for the organization, so that you would just train them on this mission and values and history once, and then they can do that for the rest of the VISTA, the volunteers that they will be onboarding moving forward. Any other training topics or onboarding ideas that you've done with your VISTAs?
Yeah, I wasn't actually a part of the orientation process, but I was on the onboarding piece of everything, and Max is actually in the chat right now. But I wanted him to really understand as much as possible in our organization. So he shadowed me for a couple months, and it kind of just continued into a workflow. But I introduced him to all the schools we partner with, all of our coaches, and also hung around different practice sites so he could actually get a sense of what he serves. Even though he's not doing direct service, he wanted to make sure he got that outlook to see what our program is, what we accomplish, and all the people that are in our community.
Yeah, and just to reiterate what Silas said, I feel like that immersion component, that like immersion element, was really essential to my success thus far, which I've interpreted as a success thus far. And yeah, I can't appreciate Silas enough for, yeah, just like he said, taking me into, you know, the schools, or obviously we can't do that now, but even virtually, you know, you could do it. I feel like maybe we did it with some of our past interns just recently, and yeah, just kind of like introducing them to like a student athlete, and yeah, like Nadia said, and the others, just showing our mission and our values, and yeah, it's been a great experience because of that. And
Max is around enough where he shows face and volunteers enough in certain spaces that he is Coach Max sometimes.
Yeah, I'll take that as a compliment. I feel like I've earned that.
That's amazing. Thank you, Silas. And thank you, Maxwell. I'll move back to sharing my screen unless I have any other questions, comments, or thoughts. Thank you all for sharing. And moving forward to the onboarding and training that us as the SWARE Center share with our VISTA members. So this is a quick screen or a quick plan for some of the training that we offer to our VISTA members. And I'm not sure if everybody can see this, but this is
your slides.
Can you see the sheet, the spreadsheet?
The spreadsheet is very small.
No, you were on that tab before, but you switched back.
Oh, okay. Let me stop this screen. Reshare again. Okay. Now it should be visible.
Yes.
Okay.
Great. So this is an example of an orientation that we've offered recently to our VISTA members. So as you can see, the majority of the activities or the orientation topics that we share with our VISTA members are very much VISTA/SWARE specific. We do not cover a whole lot about the organization or the site placement itself. We try to rely on you, the site supervisor, to cover that piece, and we cannot pretend to know enough to cover that. But examples of topics that we cover is an orientation to the SWARE Center overall, the team structure of the SWARE Center in Brown. We also cover VISTA onboarding 101, we just cover what we mean by VISTA, what the expectations of the VISTA member will be for the upcoming service year, the reporting structure, etc. We tried as much as we can to answer any VAD reporting or VAD questions they have, but we also have them prepare questions for you, the site supervisor, to answer. And finally, covering the VISTA benefits overall, like SNAP, healthcare benefits, etc. And then finally, we share with them some webinars, and we share with them some VISTA regional office resources overall. So these are a few examples, but again, it's not a full-on orientation. There are a few occasions during the year, like the PD session, where we share with the VISTA members more training resources and workshops, but that's an example of an orientation that we offer. So moving back to the presentation. Okay, can everyone see the presentation again?
Yes.
Thank you, Ashley. Moving to the VISTA management. There are a few different important pieces about the VISTA management for the VISTA members. We tend to offer that on the RFP and during various forms of or various check-in points with the VISTA supervisors, but I'm gonna very briefly mention the main ones. So for the VISTA report and the VISTA login of hours, that tends to happen via Brown Engage. It looks like this, and the VISTA would just log in impact similar to the community core, Bonner, and other reporting for Brown Engage, and you would typically receive again an email on your inbox saying so-and-so has logged in X hours. Do you approve or deny these logged in hours? In addition to the Brown Engage impact, we also ask that the VISTA members log in or submit a monthly report. At the first day of every month, we would expect that the member would submit a report for the previous month, and that has few questions that were already selected by the VISTA supervisor, like the performance measures and the training hours that were already set by the VISTA supervisor. So the questions would be, what were some successes that you've had this month? What were some challenges? Are there some areas that we can support you on more, etc.? In addition to that, there will be some questions like, if the VISTA member was expected to recruit volunteers or manage volunteers, a question would be, how many volunteers have you recruited this month? How many volunteers have you onboarded or managed this month? How many hours did these volunteers log in, etc.? So it really would vary from one VISTA project to another, but the main point is that all VISTA members will be submitting a monthly report each month. Following that, time off requests, that's another form that the VISTA member will be submitting. So for both the site supervisor and us, anytime they need to request vacation or sick leave. Typically, the VISTA members have 10 days vacation, 10 personal leave, and 5 emergency days. And so as long as they have those dates, they should request the time off for that. In addition to that, they'll also be requesting teleservice. That's typically when we were serving on an in-person form, because now the majority of the site placements will still be continuing their engagement remotely. This will only be filled once during the onboarding session of the VISTA member. Once the VISTA is onboarded, they will continue with their teleservice until the VISTA site placement needs to change that, or until further notice from the VISTA regional office.
Nadia, here, apologies for interrupting. I'm just going to do a time check and say that we are 2 minutes
yes.
to noon. So use that information as you may to determine how you wrap up.
Thank you, Ashley. I'll wrap up very quickly. And finally, we have the mid-year evaluation and future plans form. I'm happy to share all these forms with you later on the slides. Finally, or before finally, how to support your VISTA. By providing orientation, training, regular check-in, and by using the VISTA Supervisor Handbook as a resource for you. The final and really final thing I will share here is updates for the upcoming year. So the first update is that virtual service will still continue, and it will depend on the site and the member. If the site has some form of in-person service, they will need to notify us and notify the member to see if that's something they would feel comfortable doing. It really, but in either case, they will need to let us know about the decision. The other update is that there's no limit to teleservice, which I mentioned earlier. There are some parts of direct service that are still possible in certain occasions, given the current circumstances. And the final two is that all VISTA meetings, workshops, and other events will still remain virtual until further notice. And lastly, which is a really good update, is that we have an added layer of support for VISTA members this year through our VISTA leader, Carissa Grosha. There is an added resource for all VISTA members, which is called the AmeriCorps VISTA Program FAQ, which you can find here linked. In this, I'm sharing a list of additional resources for all VISTA supervisors right here, and for your VISTA members, if they reach out to you with questions, feel free to share with them these member resources. Any questions at this point that I can answer? I see that is 12 o'clock. So I'm gonna pause here and thank you all for your questions, your comments, your thoughts. I'm happy to share all these resources later on, and feel free to reach out to me with any questions.
Again, thank you everybody for your remarkable stamina in being with us. There are so many faces on the call who've been with us since 9 a.m. We appreciate it. We have notes. All of these presentations and the recordings will be sent out to folks in short order, so you'll have multiple ways of revisiting any of the information that you heard here. We are all the members of the CP team. You know who we are. We can wave. We're all at your disposal for you to reach out to us if you want or need to do a deeper dive into anything that we've discussed. If you're already engaging with us through one of our programs, we've likely already reached out to you to schedule a check-in. But if you haven't heard, or if you're not currently partnering and you want to talk about something, just let us know. You know, for those of you who have questions for Julie, who was with us earlier, she shared her information. We'll share that as well in the notes, but you can certainly reach out to us and through us for more information about collaboration with the Engaged Scholarship arm of the center. We're going to hang around on the call for a little bit, but thank you. You're welcome to sign off. We know you have sort of full days and weeks, but know that we'll be around if you do want to hang back and ask a question.